Welcome back, everyone. As you probably guessed from the title of the video and the thumbnail, we are going over this gun. This is the Sig Sauer P211, or Sig Sauer's take on the 2011. It is sort of 2011-ish, sort of not. However, it is definitely 100% a race gun, no doubt about that. And this has been probably one of the most requested reviews here on the channel that I've had certainly in the last year. And basically, we've had this one in since before it was released. So just full disclosure on that, Sig did send it out. And I wasn't able to get a video up kind of when they were released, like a lot of other content creators on YouTube and elsewhere. So because of that, I decided to do sort of a longer term review of it, and we're finally getting around to it. So right now, as when you guys are watching this video, we have just over 2,000 rounds through it, so not a ton by some of you guys' standards, but in terms of what most people will ever put through a gun, it's definitely higher than 98% of people out there. So relatively high round count, and basically we're gonna let you guys know how it has held up during that time, the features of the gun, all of those sorts of things. So I mentioned earlier that it is sort of competing in the 2011 space. No doubt about it, it absolutely is, but it is different in a few different ways. So first way it is different is that it does take Sig P320, P250, M17, M18 magazines, however, not all of them. So I have a ton of the original 320 magazines, and if you have the ones with the standard polymer base plate, they will not fit inside the mag well. Now, of course, if you remove the mag well, it absolutely will fit. However, other 320 mags will work, so let's check it out with Magpul mags as well as their standard capacity 29 round for the YouTube reviewer and see how that works. I'm gonna try these factory Magpul mags, see how they work in here. I haven't tried it yet, we're about to find out. Looks like they locked in, and obviously you can't grip and rip it if you get a double feed with that mag well. Let's see. No lockback. Now we're gonna see how these completely YouTube compliant 29 round standard capacity magazines do here in the P211. No holdback, otherwise they ran. So as you guys saw there, it works just fine with different types of P320 M17 magazines. That definitely is a good thing because P320 magazines, while they're not cheap, they're definitely cheaper than high quality 2011 mags. So if you guys are planning on stocking up on them, that is a good thing. However, the downside of that is that if you already have a lot of 2011 mags, which I would imagine a lot of people looking at this gun already do, then those won't work in this gun. So pros and cons to that. Now I should mention that if you live in a normal state, it will ship with this 23 round standard capacity magazine with the aluminum base plate, and then two 21 round magazines with a polymer base plate. So it does come with 3 mags. I think that's pretty good, especially for a gun that costs what this gun costs. So I am not mad about that at all. And it also has run very well with different types of hollow points. So let's check that out as well. Now we're going to see how it does with some hollow points. We have some 124 grain Sig Elite V Crown, I believe is what they call them. And we'll see how she runs. Hard to do any better than that. At this point though, we probably have 400 to 500 rounds through this gun. Optics a little bit dirty. That's definitely something I've noticed. I'm going to try it with some Blazer aluminum case 9mm. Fed just fine. Since we were just checking out how this thing will run defensive rounds, let's talk about defensive shooting and thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is going to be the folks over there at Attorneys on Retainer. For those of you guys who don't know who they are exactly what the name indicates. They are attorneys on retainer. So one of the big differentiators between them and a lot of other concealed carry or self-defense insurance products out there is that they're not an insurance product, i.e. they're not underwritten by an insurance company. So a lot of other companies, if you are charged with a crime, let's say, the insurance underwriters on the policy that you actually pick up through these companies will say that the company cannot provide legal defense for you, which kind of stinks because especially if you live in an area that has some questionable prosecutors, you may get prosecuted, even if you have a good shoes. And the folks over at Attorneys on Retainer, they don't have that problem because they're not underwritten by an insurance company. So that definitely is one of the big advantages of them for sure. Another huge advantage that I always like to point out is going to be the fact that when you actually call them, a actual attorney will pick the phone up, and 99 times out of 100, that attorney will actually be the one who is part of your legal defense team should you ever have to go to trial. But the benefit of that is that when you're actually talking to them, explaining what just happened in a very high stress situation that you had to use your firearm in, that conversation is protected by attorney-client privilege. Whereas again, some of the other companies, they don't actually have attorneys answering the phone. They have paralegals or other folks like that. And those conversations aren't necessarily protected by attorney-client privilege. And so if you are looking to become a member of Attorneys on Retainer and have that legal protection in the event that you should need it, the code here on your screen will get you guys a discount code both on the individual plan as well as on the family plan. I definitely recommend checking them out. I've been trying to get them on for a sponsor for a while. They finally came on board and we are glad to have them. If you guys are interested in that type of product, I do firmly believe that they are the best in the industry that you can go with for protecting yourself as well as your family. Now moving back onto the gun, we talked about the magazines, talked about the ammo. Let's drop the magazine and work through it piece by piece. So the first thing you're gonna notice about this gun, if you pick one of these up in a store or something like that, is going to be the weight. So a lot of 2011s out there are going to have polymer grip modules and aluminum frames out there on front. Not the case with this gun for sure. It is heavy. It's actually heavier than the website says. I'm not sure why, but it is right around 50 pounds unloaded, 50 ounces unloaded with this optic. So I think the website says it's like 42 ounces or something like that. So it is a little bit heavier, but the reason for that, of course, is that we do have a steel frame up front. And then we have an aluminum grip module there on the bottom. We also have that magwell that we talked about. This magwell is phenomenal. It's perfectly done. It's blended extremely well. I have absolutely zero issues with the magwell. We have beat it up with multiple mag insertions, and it has had no galling or anything like that. They definitely did that right. The grips on the gun are G10. They are replaceable if you guys want to replace them. That said, I would not replace them. I think the grip texture is phenomenal. One thing I like that a lot of guns don't do is the texture goes all the way up. So that way with your support hand, when you're getting in there, you have a good contact surface with it. And additionally, the frame itself has good checkering, both on the front as well as on the rear. The grip though, just for folks out there who are wondering, I have XL size hands, so I have larger than average hands. And for me, the grip fits perfectly. So I say that to say that if you have smaller hands, it may not fit you quite as well. That said, again, those grips are replaceable and you can get ones that are a little bit slimmer if you want to do that. But my hands, I mean, they fit on there perfectly like it was made for my hands. Like if I was gonna set the gun up for me, this is basically the diameter of the grip I would set up. So not mad about it at all. Additionally, we have a very good undercut there on the front of the trigger guard, and then it has a double undercut as well. So we have a little bit of material carved out there and also have checkering on there. On the back, like we mentioned, good checkering on the back strap, but also a very large memory bump on there. So I know for the 2011 crowd, the grip safety is something that is somewhat controversial. I don't mind them as long as they have a big bump. If they have a big bump on there, so that way in case you grab it in sort of a weird way, you're still gonna actuate it. And so for folks who don't know what that is, the grip safety there is basically, this is your thumb safety. So if your gun is on fire and you press the trigger, it will not actually fire until you press that grip safety. It's just an additional safety that the firearm has to prevent it from firing, obviously when you don't want it to fire. So that certainly is nice. We have a nice long sweeping beaver tail on there. Once again, protecting your hands from getting slide bite. It's not even close for me. And again, like I mentioned, I have relatively large hands. We do have good checkering on the hammer if that's something you care about. I'm not sure many of you guys will care. It does have an ambidextrous safety. It is solid, it locks into place, it pops into place with a good detent click. It's very positive, there's no issues with it in my opinion. Additionally, it's the same on the left side. So some of you lefties know that that is not always the case with any type of ambidextrous product, but it does work both ways. Speaking of ambidextrous, it also has an ambidextrous slide lock and slide release. Again, it works on both sides, so that certainly is an advantage for some of you guys who are into that. The downside of it is that it makes taking the gun apart a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. So let's talk about that real quick. Let's get into that aspect of the gun. So right now, like I mentioned, it's over 2,000 rounds. If you guys are new here, you may not know, but for 2011s, I think the maintenance schedule needs to be a little bit more, what's the word, generous. And in order to be fair when you're reviewing these guns, that's my personal take here on the channel. What we do for 1911s or 2011s is we clean them and lubricate them when they come in, and then every 500 rounds or so, they will be lubricated. This one was also cleaned at 1,000 rounds. We'll get into why that is here in just a second. However, cleaning and lubricating this gun, a little bit more difficult, but not difficult at all. So because it has the ambidextrous slide lock and slide release there, it does come with a punch, a little 1/16 punch, and you drive that pin out. And then after that, disassembly is basically the same with the exception of the compensator, which we'll get to here in just a second, but it does require that punch. If you don't have the punch, you're not getting your gun apart. So just keep that in mind, but any commercially available 1/16 punch will work. Magazine release, of course, is over here on the left side of the gun from the factory. It's not super oversized. That said, it's very easy to hit. I don't have to ship my grip or anything like that. I definitely like it. I don't like oversized magazine release because, again, as many of you guys have seen if you watch the channel here, sometimes when they're extended like that, the palm of my hand will hit them and the magazine will fall out when you don't need it, which is absolutely suboptimal. So the trigger itself is adjustable. It has that adjustment screw up front. This is a Series 80 gun, meaning that does have a firing pin safety on the inside, and you absolutely can feel it when you are slow firing this gun. No doubt about it, you will feel it. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but you can feel it versus a Series 70. However, the actual break on this, on my scale, is consistent, somewhere between 3.8 ounces and 3.11 ounces. I pulled it 6 times right before walking out here to actually do it, and it was very, very consistent. So it is not a heavy trigger pull at all. And when you're actually shooting the gun, driving the gun, you're not going to notice that Series 80s, at least not in my opinion anyway. I don't. But when slow firing, you kind of can. So I have the trigger, I should also mention, set up as it came from the factory. I didn't mess with it just for the purposes of this review. So you can see there, you have a little bit of play there once you get on it, and then that's where you feel that Series 80. I'm not sure if you guys can even see it on camera, but there's a little bit of movement right on the wall, and that is, of course, pushing the firing pin block out of the way. That's what's actually mechanically happening inside of the firearm, and then you're on the rear wall, and it breaks, again, very, very cleanly, right at 3.5, up to 3 pounds and 11 ounces. The reset is phenomenal, as you would expect. Right there, short, tactile, audible, and you're back on the wall. Pull it through. Again, that little bit of false wall that you do feel with every Series 80 gun is very minimal, especially in reality, like when you're actually on the range firing the gun. You do feel it a little bit in dry fire. That said, if you're trying to go fast, the trigger on this gun is not going to be what slows you down at all. I will definitely say that. And then continuing on out front, we do have a light rail with 1913 and lots of different Picatinny slots out there for you guys who want to add the lights and lasers of your choice. Continuing up into the slide, it's an interesting design because of the way this compensator is designed. So we will definitely talk about that. As you guys can see there as well, that bull barrel is indeed a bull barrel. That thing is chunky and heavy and fantastically accurate. I have no problems with that, particularly on this style of gun. Now let's talk about the compensator. So this thing is 3D printed. It is metal by the folks over at Sig Sauer's suppressor shop, using all of their fancy high-tech flow monitoring and flow modeling technology that they do have. It definitely works phenomenally well. One thing it does is it combines with the slide that is shortened, because the barrel itself is, I believe, it's only 4.4 inches long, even though it looks like a 5-inch gun. And when you're actually shooting it, it feels like you're shooting a 5-inch gun until you actually feel the recoil impulse. And the recoil impulse is going to feel more like a commander size 1911, like my Kimber Pro that you guys have seen here, the 2K11, where it has sort of that shorter, snappier recoil impulse. This one has that despite being a longer overall gun, because the slide mass that's actually moving is very similar to what you're going to see on a commander size gun, so it does make sense. However, the compensator works phenomenally well. One thing I will say is that everyone's going to ask me, how does it shoot compared to a Staccato XC? What I will say is that the actual shooting experience compared to a Staccato XC, in terms of putting rounds on target on a shot timer and doing so accurately and all those sorts of things, is basically identical. If anything, if I blindfolded people and told them to shoot them back to back, this would likely shoot a little bit better, in my opinion. And the reason for that is that this gun is a little bit heavier, and it also has the weight back here at the rear, whereas the Staccato XC is going to have that polymer grip module. And because of that, for me anyway, when I'm shooting them, one thing that tends to happen on the XC is I tend to sort of dip down a little bit farther, because I'm driving the gun a little harder than it needs to be, and there's just not that weight in the rear to settle it. That's me. Maybe it's different for you guys, but I would imagine most people watching this would actually have a very similar experience, particularly if you guys are fairly experienced shooters. Not saying that the XC is a bad gun. The XC is a phenomenal gun. It's just very expensive, but it does shoot differently because the weight is distributed differently, even though they both have very effective compensators up front. Now, one thing I will say that absolutely is, my personal opinion anyway, is a con about this gun, no doubt, is this compensator. It works phenomenally well, but I don't like the way it attaches at all. As you guys can see here, it does have a set screw. In the manual, it tells you to actually take it out and check it every 1,000 rounds, which is what I did. Typically, during this process, I would not have done that. I would not have disassembled the gun and cleaned it. I would have just re-lubricated it every 500 rounds or so, which is what I did, but I did disassemble it just to kind of get a feel for it. And one thing I will say is that there is this screw, then it's also a pin that has a spring underneath it, and I just think that it was way harder to get out than it should be. Now, again, I'm somebody who does this all the time, and I'm not saying it was extremely difficult. It's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying it just seems like there has to be an easier way to accomplish the objectives of this than to have to worry about a spring flying across the room and driving a retaining pin out. The SIG says not to drive out, but I don't know how you can get it out without at least giving it a little bit of ass to push it, because that's just the way it's set up. I'm not sure it would come out any other way, at least my sample size of one. Now, one thing I should also mention about that I do like is that as of right now, I'm filming this at the end of November in 2025. SIG announced when they announced these guns that they were going to be coming out with a non-comped version of this that you could just swap out. As of right now, I have not seen that available, but for me personally, there's no doubt in my mind that's what I personally would put on there. The compensator works great, but I suspect, obviously I haven't shot it without the compensator, but I suspect that this gun will shoot great regardless, and will be very, very close and be a little bit less loud because that compensator is very loud. There's no getting around it. It obviously has the vertical portion and then also has the side portion that is also drawing gases away. It does a phenomenal job, again, at what it's designed to do, but it is also very, very loud, so just keep that in mind. Continuing back to our slide assembly there, the serrations are fantastic. I have no issues with it at all. Both the forward and rear ones on there. It does have SIG's X-ray sights. The version that has a blacked out rear, SIG has a few versions of their X-ray sights, but I believe it's a 6/8 combo if you guys are SIG nerds. So basically, if you're looking for aftermarket sights for it, that is what you would go for. That said, I see absolutely no reason to replace the sights on this. It has that tritium up front there with the green ring around it. It's a very good front sight. And it also has the serrated black rear. As those who watch my channel know, that is my preference in terms of iron sight options. This one is cut with the new SIG cut. So basically what that allows for is the ability to use a system of pins, kind of similar to the agency arms if you guys have seen that system, but it is a little bit different. And this one will accept basically your delta points, your RMSC patterns, your RMR pattern, and then of course, because it has that SIG lock cut as well, it will also take your Romeo X, like the Romeo X Pro enclosed optic that we have here that actually mounts from underneath the slide. I have a video on the M17 version of this optic. You guys can check it out. I go into insane amounts of detail on it because I think it is phenomenal. And this is basically just the civilian version of the military's version of the M17. It is, in my personal opinion, top 5 pistol optics for sure ever made to date. It's excellent. It has a donut of depth reticle. You can swap the different reticles based on your user preference. Has excellent low light performance. In fact, if you are shooting passively with night vision, it's the best I've ever used to date. It's very durable. You guys have seen me beat up on it, and because it is mounted from the rear, it is very hard to destroy. These things are also American made, which a lot of folks like as well. Unfortunately, they're not inexpensive. However, not all models of the P211 come with the optic. I should also say that. Some do, some don't. It just depends on which one you want. So you can get it without the optic as well, and then use the optic of your choice. Like I mentioned, a lot of different optics will fit on there, virtually all of them that I am aware of outside of the Aimpoint acro footprint. You may need an adapter for that. Again, just based on what I saw when I was going through what comes in the box. So I think with that, guys, we've gone over all of the details of the actual firearm itself. One thing I'll mention is the wear on this gun. This gun has over 2,000 rounds on it. I mean, there's virtually no wear. So whatever type of nitrocarburizing SIG is using on these parts, they are doing a phenomenal job. No doubt about it. The wear pattern is virtually non-existent. So whoever's doing the nitrocarburizing or QPQing over there at Sig, good job on you for that one. No doubt about it. So let's get into sort of performance, cost, what I think about it, pros and cons, all those sorts of things. So first off, cons, we already talked about them. I don't like the way that attaches. Additionally, it's not a 2011 like we talked about. So magazines could be a pro or a con depending on how you look at that. Additionally, the same is going to be true with weight. It's a little bit heavy, no doubt about it, but that also makes it shoot really, really great. Additionally, if you are invested in the 2011 ecosystem, a lot of holsters and things like that will not work with that. The same is true for magazine holsters, so just be aware of that. Reliability on this gun has been 100% with one exception. So the vast majority of the ammo we've shot through this has been laser brass 124 grain, probably 1,000 rounds of that, and then at least 500 rounds of MagTech 115 grain full metal jacket, and then various different types of hollow points and other stuff that you guys have seen throughout this video so far. Again, zero malfunctions. I should also mention before getting into that, big thanks to our ammo sponsor here. That is the folks over at Firearms Depot. That is a heavy lift to send the ammo out for the use here for all the different guns that we shoot, but particularly a higher round count like this. And they sent all of that out, so we do appreciate that. They have very competitive pricing. If you guys are interested in ammo, definitely check out Firearms Depot. Now, one thing we did have in terms of reliability issues, and it happened with all different types of mags. I probably showed it earlier with the Magpul magazines, but it wasn't just the Magpul magazines. It wasn't just the 30-round mags. It was the factory ones that come with it. I would say, if I had to guess and put a number on it, about 40% of the time when the gun would go to the last round, it would not lock back. And 100%, I tested it left-handed just to see, and as well as single shot, or rather right-handed without the support hand, I should say. And every time I was firing with just one hand, the slide would lock back every time. It was not a problem. It just happens to be my grip, for whatever reason, is hitting that slide lock and slide release lever. Yeah, I think that's a me issue. I just keep doing it, but when we fire just one-handed, it's locking back just fine. That is not a gun issue, in my opinion. That is a me issue in the way I interface with the gun. So other than that, 100% reliable, which is crazy. So many of you guys know 2011 type guns don't have the best, don't have the best reputation as a style of gun for being the most reliable, and I would say that's fair. 2011, that's based on a 1911, obviously, which is a 120+ year-old design. So it makes sense that something modern, more modern designs would be a little bit more reliable. But this one has absolutely bucked that trend. Like I said, no malfunctions, like zero at all, outside of the slide not locking back, which again is a user interface issue. So can't really do any better than that. Another, I guess, con of the gun, outside of the reliability that we just talked about, which is fantastic, is that a lot of the parts on here are in fact proprietary. So again, with the 2011, a lot of times you can just buy a different trigger if you want a different length and just drop it in. The same would be true for the mainspring, for the grip safety, for all the different parts that interface up front with the guide rod and the springs and all those sorts of things. A lot of them, not all, are proprietary on this gun, so you're gonna have to go to Sig to get them. And as of right now, a lot of these parts aren't available. Now, again, I would imagine there's going to be a ton of different aftermarket parts, as well as support from Sig Sauer with spare parts coming as these guns continue to be sold and continue to be used out there. But that is something to consider, right? There's a lot of proprietary parts to it, is what it is. The next one that is not going to be, in my opinion, either a pro or a con is going to be the price point. So I think the MSRP on this gun is around 2,700 units of measure. We can't say price point on YouTube. Somewhere around there. However, if you look around the internet, it's going to be roughly 2,400 units of measure. That is a ton of money. So compared to, you know, your Glock 17 or even like an HK VP9, it is a lot of money. And there's no doubt about it that there's other great guns that are going to be sub 1,000 units of measure that are phenomenal. They're very accurate, they're very reliable, they shoot great, all those sorts of things. But when you compare the feature set that this gun has with other, I guess, competitors for American-made guns that are going to be 2011 style pistols, man, this thing competes really favorably. I mean, again, the obvious comparison on this gun is going to be the Staccato XC. I would say, my personal opinion, something like a Staccato or an Atlas or something like that is absolutely going to have a better fit and finish. There's going to be less play here if you want to wobble the parts around and all of those sorts of things, no doubt. But for example, the Staccato is almost double the price of this for the Staccato XC that this is. The Atlas is, depending on the model, obviously is going to be more than double or almost triple what this gun costs. And again, from the reliability, from the accuracy that we have seen here today, as well as the feature set, it's going to be hard to advise the average person out there who goes to work from 9 to 5, works really hard every day, makes a decent living, and wants to get a fancy race gun. If they want a 2011 style gun, this one is going to be one that I would look at, especially if they want an American-made one. Basically, all the competitors that are less than this, and there are exceptions, I understand that. Most of the competitors that are going to be priced less than this, that have a similar feature set, are going to be foreign-made. Just is what it is right now as when I'm filming this. So if you wanted an American made with a large company with good customer support, those sorts of things, and you're, on a budget, relatively speaking, I understand this gun is still obnoxiously expensive. I get it. But compared to the other ones, it's not that obnoxiously expensive. So it would definitely be a gun I recommend, provided that you are okay, again, with the things that we mentioned as some of the downsides. But I mean, the price point and the value proposition this gun has, from what I understand, they've been selling very well, and I expect that to continue on just based on my experience. We're certainly going to continue shooting it here, no doubt about it. But overall, that's my take on the Sig P211. If you guys have questions, anything like that, you can always post those down below in the comment section as always. Additionally, you can post them over at my various social media sites. I do monitor a lot of them, not all of them, but that is one way to get in touch with me and let me see what you guys are saying. If you guys have one of these guns, let us know down below what you think of it. At this point, like I said, they've sold a ton of them, so I would imagine there's going to be a lot of you guys out there that actually have them. So let me know how yours has performed. Again, mine is a sample size of one, but with that, if you guys like this video and you're not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We do detailed reviews like this fairly often here on the channel. So if you like this video, there's a good chance you're going to like the other reviews that we do as well. Additionally, if you guys are subscribed on Rumble and YouTube and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, then you are being censored by an algorithm from my content. Easy way around that is to sign up for the email list at the website here on your screen. This will get you put on a couple different email lists. The first one is going to be the email that goes out once a month, and it just has all of my videos in it from the previous month's email, so that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content rather via an algorithm. Additionally, it will get you put on the Daily Deals email. So that way, if things like lights, lasers, optics, firearms themselves, magazines, if they go on sale, they will be in the Daily Deals email. The email contains typically 8 to 10 of the best deals that we find around the internet on a given day. If the item is in the email, it's the cheapest I know of for that item. So that way it saves you guys some time because I've already done the price comparisons for you, and typically saves you some money as well. There's also a good meme in there that a lot of people like. You can sign up just for the meme. It's fine, I will allow it. And lastly, we have an SMS service. You can sign up for that by texting the word gear to the code here on your screen. That will get you guys signed up. You can also go to the website and sign up the old-fashioned way. Either way works for me. And the SMS goes out at most once a day. And it typically has one of two things, either a new video that just dropped, once again getting around the algorithmic censorship, or it has a smoking deal that typically sells out very, very quickly. So that way you guys can take advantage of it before it sells out because it goes right into your inbox. And with that, that's all I got for you all. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.